faithfulness and my mercy shall be with David.
And in my name
Shall his horn
be exalted.
In my name shall his kingdom be exalted.
I will set his hand also in the sea.
In the sea.
And his right hand in the rivers.
I'll give him worldwide dominion. From one sea to another, from one river to another, I will set his hand in the sea and his right hand in the rivers. He shall cry unto me,
Thou art my Father,
my Elohim,
and the rock of my salvation.
I will also make him my firstborn,
higher than the kings of the earth.
And I'll make him higher than any king on this earth. Here, brothers and sisters, Psalms 89 is for those that have eyes and can see, and can ears and can hear, and a heart that can perceive and understand that Yahweh is not a man that he should lie, neither is he a son of a man that he should repent. Yah said, my word shall not come and go out of my mouth void, but it shall accomplish that which I sent it. Here Yahweh states that David will be his firstborn, and he said he will make David higher than the kings of the earth. Brothers and sisters, he didn't say a word about the Christ of the New Testament. Not one mumbling word. A lot of people say, well, Brother ELesha, Yahweh speaks about the Messiah in the Old Testament, all through it. And I will agree with them. He does. And it even goes further by mentioning his name. Yahweh said that he shall take the crooked things and make them straight for us. And he just has. Yahweh said the things that were in darkness, he shall bring to light. And he has. Yahweh said he will reveal his secrets unto the servants, the prophets. And he has. Yahweh has been faithful to execute all the words that came out of his mouth. What you have been taught about the Son of Yahweh is not from the mouth of Yahweh. It's not from the mouth of his prophets, but it's something you were told that Peter and John says. Brothers and sisters, you don't equate a Peter and John besides Moses and David and Isaiah and Zechariah and Isaiah and Ezekiel and Hosea. You don't put them against the prophets that stood in the council of Yahweh and heard his words and executed his words. You can't do that. Yahweh is speaking about his servant. But since we realize that his son is Israel, I want to show you something about Israel in relationship to Isaiah, the 53rd chapter. Let's go back to Isaiah, the 53rd chapter. I just wanted you to see that very first verse about who has believed our report and to whom is the arm of Yahweh revealed. And then it goes on and says,
For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant.
Yes. He shall grow up before Yahweh as a tender plant. What is he talking about? Who did Yahweh prophesy would grow before him as a tender plant? Brothers and sisters, if you go to the book of Isaiah, the 44th chapter, and start reading the very first verse, notice what it says.
Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Thus saith Yahweh, that made thee, and formed thee from the womb.
Here Yahweh says, hear my words, my servant. And it didn't say Christ. And Israel, whom I have chosen. Why didn't he tell Isaiah that JC is the one that he have chosen? He's speaking of his servant in Isaiah, the 53rd chapter. Although there is no name mentioned, we see a title that's given in the 11th verse. Notice the 11th verse of Isaiah. It says,
He shall see of the travail of his soul.
whoever he's speaking of in Isaiah, the 53rd chapter, he said he shall see of the travail of his soul
And shall be satisfied
and shall be satisfied.
by his knowledge.
By his wisdom and knowledge.
Shall my righteous servant justify
He
many.
said, by his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many.
For he shall bear their iniquity.
He shall bear their iniquity. Notice, who is he speaking of? Read that again.
He shall see of the travail of his soul, and shall be satisfied. By his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many.
Here, Yahweh, whoever he is talking about, Yahweh calls this individual his servant, his righteous servant. Brothers and sisters, do you know, nowhere in the New Testament, nowhere in the Bible, period, is Christ called the servant of Yah. Nowhere. Who is Yah speaking of when he says his servant? Again, all you have to do is look in Isaiah 44:1.
Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant.
Here he says Jacob is his servant. Here the Yahweh says Jacob is his servant. Let's look in Isaiah 42. If we look in Isaiah 42, 42nd chapter, I want you to read let's look at the verse. We're going to start at verse 6. It says,
I, Yahweh, have called thee in righteousness, and will hold thine hand, and will keep thee, and give thee for a covenant of the people, for a light of the Gentiles.
he said he's going to give this person for a light to the Gentiles. He said, Yahweh called thee in righteousness. He's talking about his righteous servant. And I will hold thy hand, and I will keep thee, and I will give thee for a covenant of the people, and for a light to the Gentiles. Who is he speaking of that he's going to give for a covenant to the people and a light to the Gentiles? Who is he speaking of? All you have to do is look in the 23rd verse.
Who amongst you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil, and Israel to the robbers?
So he's speaking of Israel again. This whole chapter here is speaking of Israel. He said, who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not Yahweh against whom we have sinned? For we would not walk in his ways, neither were we obedient unto the law. Now let's go back to Isaiah. Just to show you a couple things, go to Isaiah 44. Let's start over again. 44:1.
Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Thus saith Yahweh that made thee, and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee. Fear not, O Jacob my servant, and thou Jeshurun whom I have chosen. For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty.
Now you see the fulfillment of Isaiah 53. He said, I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon thy seed, and my blessings upon thy offspring.
And they shall spring up, as amongst the grass, as willows by the watercourses.
Willows by the watercourses. That's what Yahweh is speaking of when he said he shall grow up. In Isaiah 53:2, it says, for he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of a dry ground. He has no form nor comeliness. And when we see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. So the one that shall grow up before him as a root out of a dry ground, according to Yahweh, is Israel. For he says, I will, in the 3rd verse of Isaiah 44:3, for I will pour water upon him as thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground.
I will pour my spirit upon thy seed, and my blessing upon thine offspring. And they shall spring up as amongst the grass, as willows by the watercourses. One shall say, I am Yahweh's, and another shall call himself by the name of Yaakov. And another shall subscribe with his hand unto Yahweh, and surname himself by the name of Israel.
Right here, you see that the one that's being spoken of in Isaiah 53rd chapter, that shall grow up before Yahweh as a plant, a root out of a dry ground, is Israel. We're the one that's springing up before Yahweh amongst the grass as widows by the water courses. And Yahweh said, I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. He's speaking of the water he's speaking of is his divine spirit. He said, I will pour my spirit upon thy seed, and my blessings upon thy offsprings, and they shall spring up from amongst the grass as widows by the water courses. And when they spring up with the spirit of Yahweh, when they spring up with the blessings of Yahweh, the first thing they would do is surname themselves by the name of Israel. One should say, I'm Yahweh's, and another shall call himself by the name of Jacob, and another shall subscribe with his hand unto Yahweh, and surname himself by the name of Israel. Brothers and sisters, this is prophecy being fulfilled before your eyes every day now. Some parts of the United States, every day, there's a young man and a young woman going into the courthouse of their prospective cities and states, inquiring about changing their name. And they're all surnaming themselves by the name of Israel. And when the bellot and the judge and say, well, why? What is the reason you're changing your name? And they are telling them these are not our names. These are the names of our former slave masters that have been imposed upon us. Our name was taken away, and now I want to identify with my people. I want to identify with my culture. I want to identify with my creator, and I want to regain my name. And I want to surname myself by the name of Israel. How much does it cost? This is being done every day in America because we are realizing that we are the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. we're realizing that we are the people that